So, good. Good morning all. Friday again. Hope you had a good week so far. I just check in with the ladies online, energy levels wise. So let me know on a level from 1 to 5. 1 is low, 5 quite high. Good. Thank you. And you in the room as well. Energy levels. Oh, yes, there's that. Thank you. Good. Okay, so this morning, kind of a bit of a rounded practice. We will be crossing over a couple of limbs. So crossing over those bilateral crossovers are always good to link left and right brain hemisphere. So it keeps us mentally younger for longer. So to start with, we actually start on our backs with knees bent. So just perhaps have a little bit of a stretch and extend, not knees bent, so extend your legs out in front of you. Really stretch out and then walk your legs towards the bottom right-hand corner of your mat and arrange your upper body in the in the top right-hand corner of your mat. So you may hold on to your left wrist, to your left, or with your right hand, you may just cross over your right wrist. So perhaps there's a bit more of a deeper sensation in that stretch. And if it feels okay, cross your left foot over your right leg. So I'm kind of just letting the body settle into that stretch here. So today is not too hot. The last few days have been relatively cool and quite manageable. So which is always a nice way for the body to not get too overheated, and bring that breath into the left side of your body. So into left rib cage, hip, waist. So really check in with yourself. How do you feel on this Friday morning? So you can either close your eyes or have a soft gaze as you just direct the breath into that area. So even though it doesn't actually look like we are crossing over a lot, but if you imagine that midline, almost cutting yourself into the left and to the right side, running from your nose down to your navel. So your left leg already crosses over towards the right side, and same with your arm. So let that breath really create a little bit more length along the left side of your body. So drawing the breath in through your nose, and with the exhale, let the body, especially the torso, deflate a little bit to soften. It's almost waking the body up very gradually, very mindfully. So a few more breaths into that left side of your body. If the top foot gets too heavy at any point, please do let it just flop back towards the earth, towards the floor. If you fancy a little bit of a deeper stretch, maybe pull on your left wrist so you're lengthening your left arm a little bit over to that top right-hand corner. So a couple of more breaths. And then start to release the left foot in case it was crossed over. Walk your feet back, walk your upper body back. Before you move to the second side, just have a little bit of a sense. So kind of just take a few deep breaths into your left side. Notice maybe it feels a little bit less stiff, less tense. And then change sides. So walk your feet in those kind of small baby steps over to the bottom left. Perhaps you lift your shoulders, lift your head, and rearrange that torso into or towards the top left-hand corner. So see how it feels. Maybe as the last way to come into the full posture, perhaps cross your right foot over your left foot. So avoid really tensing the body. So let the body naturally find its way into that posture. So you may feel maybe you're just kind of slowly melting into the earth. So the right hip might actually drop back. So let that naturally happen. So bring the breath in, creating a bit more length. And exhale again, let the whole body feel quite soft, almost deflate. melt into the earth. So legs are nice and long, just the ankles cross over, and allow that breath to bring more length into the right hip, right waist, armpit. And you may want to perhaps draw on your right arm, so perhaps with your left hand, maybe just reach a little bit higher, perhaps a little bit over towards that corner to create more length through the upper body. So you're literally pulling in opposite directions. So taking a few deep breaths in and exhale, let them soften. Good, 2 more breaths. So feel the belly rising and softening. And then release your top foot in case it was crossed over. Walk your feet back, walk your upper body back. Bend your knees and kind of keep in line with that side stretch. Let your knees drop from side to side, windscreen wiper legs. Your arms can be either up, overhead, out to the side, cactus arms, whatever feels good. So perhaps here it feels less of a stretch maybe compared to when you usually do those windscreen wiper legs. So because we already stretched that side a little bit more. So see what feels good in the body. You can even keep your arms reaching up overhead. So you're kind of lengthening that stretch again, maybe through the right, through the left hip, through the waist. You can even interlace your hands up overhead if that feels okay. So you almost keep your arms a little bit more locked, a bit more static. As your legs create, as the weight through your knees, through your legs creates a little bit more of a sensation on the left, on the right hand side. 1 more on each side. And then bring that rocking back to stillness. Hug your knees in towards your chest. Bring your nose towards your knees. Curl together like a little ball. And then release your upper body down. Extend both legs. Kind of just start by letting them wobble. Let them kind of just warm up. A couple of circles for your feet, maybe for your ankles. Flexing, pointing, anything that feels good. And then moving into a bit of that scissoring action. So your left leg crosses over towards the right side and vice versa. Keep your knees as much bent as you need to, as it feels okay. And don't hold your breath. So just kind of notice, how does it feel? Maybe there's more of a pull on the outer hip, on the outer hamstring. Good. At any point, you don't have to, but it's optional. Maybe just hold that crossing and breathe into the backs of your legs, into the sides of your legs. Play with the different position of your feet, maybe flex them, perhaps keep them just neutral. So from that held position, perhaps bend at your knees. So it depends how also the hips are kind of plugged in, or how your thigh bones are plugged into your hips. Maybe it feels okay to have have the thighs relatively close to your bottom. If it doesn't feel okay, cross them at your ankles and also let your knees come back down. So then just remember the leg that's actually on top. Bring your arms up overhead, cross them over. Also remember the arm that is on top, bring them into those eagle arms. So the legs literally hover over your belly. So we're moving into some stomach crunches. So on the exhale, draw your elbows towards your knees and inhale, release. So you can even bring the feet down. Exhale, draw the belly in, lifting the chest, your shoulders towards one another. Inhale, release. So you could do a couple of those crunches as you come in and out of that posture. You can also keep the whole body balancing. So you're not bringing the head down, you're not bringing your shoulders down and your feet. So you literally do a couple of those stomach crunches. So activating through the core, the lower back presses into the earth. At any point, adjust, perhaps have a bit of a pause, maybe uncross your arms, uncross your feet, windscreen wipe your legs. So just working through the core and bringing a little bit of heat into the body. So always on the exhale, come up, because there's the least kind of compression or on the diaphragm. Lovely. And then perhaps bring both feet down. Release your arms, release your feet. Again, you can bring them out to the sides, up overhead. Windscreen wipe your knees. So really just no effort here. Let your legs feel quite heavy. Let them just really be quite floppy. Maybe the right hip lifts, the left hip lifts. So let those movements become quite natural. Good. Coming back to center. Extend your legs once more up towards the ceiling. So you can start with a little bit more dynamic scissoring, and then just remember to bring the opposite leg on top that wasn't kind of the closest to your belly earlier. So then hold that position here. Perhaps see how does it feel, maybe flexing the feet so the heel points up towards the ceiling, almost presses up towards the ceiling. Breathe here for a few moments. So the tailbone draws down, the spine nice and flat on the floor. Knees can be a little bit more bent. And then bend your knees even more. Either your heels drop down towards your bottom, or you kind of just crossing at your ankles, crossing at your shins. Arms out to the sides, bring them up, cross them over. So the opposite arm is the closest to your face. You can keep your eagle arms open. You can keep them connected, and then come perhaps into 5 to 10 more of those crunches. So on the exhale, always bring elbows and knees together. Inhale, open. So again, you can bring your upper body down, you can bring the feet down, or you can just use it as a bit of a balance as well, as you, at your own pace, you squeeze them together. So remember to focus on the breath as well. So we're kind of working a lot of things at the same time. The shoulders get a little bit of a stretch. The core, definitely. So if you already pause, come into knees, windscreen wipe and knees. So that releases the belly, that releases those core muscles. So let your knees windscreen wipe from side to side. Oh. Good. And then I think most of you, they're out of the crunch. And then bring your feet down, knees are bent, feet about parallel to the floor. Bring your arms up and over towards the ceiling. Reach up as if you, because we have a balloon here in the hall, as if you want to reach for that balloon towards that ceiling. So your right shoulder lifts up, your left shoulder lifts up. And maybe that really nice length happening from side to side. So your hips might naturally just join you in that rocking motion, creating a little bit more freedom around the backs of your shoulders. So really lift up. Maybe the chin slightly lifts here as well. Good. And then keep your arms facing up towards the ceiling. Cross them over. Perhaps just hold on to opposite shoulders. So we're coming to bridge pose. But if it feels perhaps too strong a sensation on your upper back or on your neck, please do bring your hands down as we usually do the bridge. So from here, press into your feet as you lift your hips up towards the ceiling, keeping the arms crossed. Exhale, slowly roll the spine down. So do a couple of those rounds here as well, lifting and slowly lowering, kind of rolling your spine down and peeling your spine off the floor, vertebra by vertebra. So at any point, you may perhaps stay for a little bit longer in that bridge pose. Breathe. So there could be a bit more of a sensation in your upper back because the weight of your arms adds to that. Breathe here as you settle into that posture. And then roll your spine down again. Hug your knees in towards your chest. Good. And from here, slowly, perhaps Just notice what feels good. Maybe you move into a bit more of a left to right, or circling on your lower back around the pelvis. So coming back into a little bit more core work, let your knees just kind of soften here. You can cross the feet over, so no need to do it at your knees, just keeping the ankles crossed, doesn't matter which one is on top. Make a fist with your wrist, and then allow your knees to drop over to the left side. Your arms reach over towards the right side. So a bit of a stretch here. On the exhale, bring them back to center and seesaw over to the opposite side. Knees to the right, arms reach towards the left. So there's a point where you come into really good balance. Change sides as your knees continue to come through the center and tip over to the opposite side. So you're not bringing them down, you're letting them hover. And with your opposite arm crossing over, you may even want to stretch that arm really away from you. So there's more of a stretch through your bicep muscle. So really keeping it long. On the exhale, always draw your arm over to the opposite side. So if you want, you can stay for a little bit longer on one side. Almost breathe, hover, so you're strengthening and stretch at the same time, and twist. So a lot of things going on. One more on each side. And then find your way back to center. Perhaps bring one knee down, just moving, circling, warming up through your right hip. So if you have space, maybe even allow your right leg, perhaps, or if you start with the right leg, whichever leg you start, to extend out to the side. So making big circles, straightening that leg. So explore here the weight, maybe move into different directions. So mobilize through the hip. So creating a stretch for the inner thigh. If you have space, really make the most of it. But you probably feel the weight of your leg as well, as you need to bring it back in. And from here, bring it back to center, second side. So start with smaller circles first, and then gradually increase them. So you make perhaps the most of that space. Maybe you want to keep your leg hovering, hanging to one side a little bit longer. So there's no right or wrong. Explore that motion. If there's a bit of a click and it doesn't hurt, it's literally just air bubbles being stuck in your joint. Good. And then rein your knee back in. And from here, either rock up into seated position or roll over to one side. Good. So starting almost cross-legged here. I think for most of it feels okay. You can always bring your feet out wider. Cross your arms over. So you're holding on to opposite kneecaps. Literally doing a little bit of seated cat and cows. So on the exhale, let your belly draw in as you lean back, holding onto your knees. So bring your chin towards your chest. On the inhale, bring yourself forward, lifting the chest. So kind of imitating that action, what we are generally doing on all fours. Really allow yourself to lean back. So you're literally holding onto your kneecaps. It clears out some tension from your upper back. So kind of rocking forwards and backwards. So if you're really enjoying that stretch, perhaps stay for a little bit longer. Breathe in between those shoulder blades. So with your next action, perhaps just bring your arms up, cross them over, just bring the opposite arm on top, and do perhaps 3 to 4 more cat and cow. So rounding the spine, drawing the navel in, chin towards your chest. Maybe actually enjoy just hanging out here, just resting, just drawing the chin in, really stretching through the upper back, and then lifting the chest forward. So you're tilting the pelvis while bringing emphasis more onto the upper back. So you're almost just balancing on your tailbone. Okay. Good. And then find your way back to center. A couple of hip circles, pelvic circles. So really just notice how it feels. You can lean forward, you can lean more to the sides. Maybe there's a stretch. If you feel like you want to use your arms as well, but like exploring here. So perhaps just maybe even bringing in your arms as you almost hover, big circle, perhaps bringing them up. So keeping it quite fluid. Good. So even letting that arm drop back as it comes up. So make it kind of that circular motion, playing with sensations in your upper arms, shoulders. Perhaps even adding on from here, if you drop the arm back, maybe then scoop it through before you bring it back up and continue your journey as you pretty much just bring a bit more of that softness into the body. So opening, scoop it through underneath your armpit. So clearing out something that feels a bit stuck in the upper body. Good. And then find your way back to neutral tabletop. Bring your left arm out towards the side. Turn your palm, bring it behind your back, and tilt your head towards the opposite side. So it's hard to mirror. If it wasn't for people on the screen, I would mirror, but it's sometimes hard. So breathe into that sensation in your upper back, neck area. So we're just staying with that tilted head. And then release your arm, bring it back out, couple of movements. Second side, so bring your palm out first and turn it behind your back and tilt your head away from that bent arm. So slow, deep breaths into your side, into the neck. And then coming back out of the posture. Good. From here, transition onto all fours. And so perhaps, depending how you feel, maybe just do a couple of just random cat and cow, so flexing and extending the spine, maybe having a little bit of a wiggle, perhaps even moving through some through some rib cage circles. So you're bringing your rib cage out towards the right, up towards the ceiling, out towards the left. So it's kind of a quite subtle movement. So emphasis is more on the upper part of your spine as you kind of just rock your rib cage out to the left, right, kind of drawing a circle. Good. And from here, find your way back to center. Have a little bit of a wiggle. So from here, extend your left foot behind you, curl your toes under. You can come onto all fours, onto your forearms. So rocking your upper body a little bit further forward. So if you think of shoulders and elbows, so your shoulders can come way forward, making more of an arm balance. On the exhale, you push your heel back towards the center, back towards the mat. So if you feel less energetic today, perhaps just have a little bit of a bounce forward and backward without making it too much of an arm balance. So use your best judgment. So emphasis here is on stretching through the calf, through the back of your leg. So allowing your neck, your head to soften. Good. So at any point, if your right knee feels a little bit niggly, I've got blankets here as well, or you can pop blankets under. Oh, just think I have enough, just in case. So from here, bring that rocking back to stillness. Keep your left leg still extended as you you lift your left leg, bend your knee, and kick the heel up towards the ceiling. So we're creating a bit more strength through the glutes through the backs of your thighs. So it's that pulsing, that kicking. So kind of imagining you're kicking something up towards the ceiling. Lovely. One more kick with your left foot. Then bring your left leg down, come back up onto your wrists. Still keeping the back leg extended. Draw your left foot towards the right corner as you look over your right shoulder. So breathe into that left hip of yours. So crossing over here. You can even curl those back toes under and shifting the weight slightly back. So you're once more coming into more of a heel stretch, calf stretch. And then bring your foot, or actually keep your foot where it is, bring your knee down. So you're having cross-legged or cross-leg knees. Bring your arms a little bit further out as you come into a variation of child's pose. So stay here for a couple of breaths. So the bottom ledge intentionally floats a little bit up towards the ceiling. Good, one more breath. And then find your way back up to neutral tabletop, but keep your feet where they are. So that the legs are still crossed over, curling them under. From here, lifting up into downward dog. So keep your legs as they are. Continue that same kind of walking your dog movement. So you're kind of bending your knees, you're drawing the heels down, perhaps pressing that right leg a little bit more against your left leg, creating more of a sensation in the back of your thigh. Good, couple of breaths here. Maybe sway. So see how it feels in your body, in your legs. Good. And then eventually uncross your legs so they're back in neutral downward dog. Maybe have your usual left and right movement on your bottom, and then bring your knees down again. Good, second side. So come onto your forearms again, extend your right foot behind you, curl the toes under. So you can make it more of an arm balance as well as you inhale, bring your shoulders forward, and then shift your weight back as you come into that calf stretch. So that at any point you can even come into more of a static hold, whether that's more in that arm balance or more in that calf stretch, or perhaps both. So just see where you want to put the emphasis on in that posture. You can put blankets underneath that left knee if it feels. Good. So a few breaths. So strengthening the upper back as well as releasing the lower leg. So have one more rock or one more static hold or one more breath in a static hold. And then coming back into that neutral posture, lift your right leg, bend your knee, and kick your foot up towards the ceiling. So you could make it faster, you could make it slower. You could have just little pulses, you could have larger pulses, so where the knee draws almost back towards the earth and then you kick it up. So there's a bit of a larger distance. So strengthening those muscles that support the pelvis. Good, 2 more kicks. And then extend your leg down, but come back onto your forearms and onto your wrist, and slide your right foot over to the left side, left corner as you look over your left shoulder. So once more, breathe into your right waist. Perhaps you want to curl the toes, the right toes under as you kind of shift your weight once more back. So see how that feels, what you prefer. Or perhaps just having the foot extended. Good, one more breath. And then relaxing that right leg, bending the knees. So perhaps you want to move a little closer towards the center of your mat and lift up into downward dog. So curling the toes under as you shift your bottom back up. Your legs remain crossed with your left leg in front of your right leg. So have a little bit of a wiggle, explore here again. Different sensations in your hip, in your thigh, in your calf, whatever is present. So you can still continue walking your dog. Good. One more breath in that downward dog. And then uncross your feet. Perhaps bring them as wide. Make any movements you wish to make. Maybe you want to come back down onto your knees. That's absolutely fine. Tabletop. So just see how the body wants to move. Lovely. And then eventually make your way down into tabletop and all the way onto your belly. So perhaps just take a moment to center yourself here. You can bring your palms together, perhaps feet a little wider, shifting, rocking your hips from side to side. You may even want to bend your knees, perhaps let them flop, circle them. So just see what you feel like doing today. Maybe you just want to remain completely still. Lovely. One more breath. And extend your leg back out again. So bring your left hand and turn the back of your palm onto your, rest the back of your palm on your lower back. So your right hand or your right forehead or your forehead rests on your right arm. From here, lifting your right arm and your head up towards the ceiling or just shoulders off the floor. Exhale, lower. So taking 2 more here. Inhale, lift. And exhale, lower. Good. Last one here. Inhale, lift. And exhale, lower. Change sides. So bring your right arm behind you and resting on your left forearm or left on the back of your palm. So 3 more rounds here as well. On the inhale, lift. So arm lift, shoulders, head, exhale, lower. So the feet remain ideally on the ground. Inhale, lift. And exhale, lower. Last one here. Inhale, lift. And lower. Bring your right hand back to meet your left palm. Have a bit of a wiggle. So bringing those left and right movements together, extend your right arm in front of you, lifting left leg and right arm, and exhale, lower. So lifting and lowering. So avoid pressing actually your left palm into the earth. So lifting and lowering. One more round here as you lift and lower. Change sides. So left arm reaches out in front of you. Left arm and right leg. So inhale, lift and lower. So really keep that length going. Lifting and lowering. So see how it feels in the lower back. Perhaps take 2 more on the second side. Lift and lower. Lovely. Last one here as you lift and lower. Good. Then bring both hands underneath your shoulders. So moving into cobra, roll the shoulders back as you lift up, seeking that length in the spine. Exhale, lower. Good. 2 more, roll the shoulders back as you lift and lower down. Good. Last one here, rolling the shoulders back, lift. Then coming down, pressing into your hands, tabletop. Perhaps just take a moment to come back into your spine. So do a couple of cat and cows, a little bit of rounding, perhaps even shifting the bottom back towards child's pose. So see what feels good on the spine. So that's strengthening, even though the back bend may cause for some maybe a little bit of irritation in the back. So come back to your neutral spine, please. Lovely. Last one here. And from here, coming to tabletop, curl your toes under, downward dog. So walk your hands towards your feet and stay in that forward fold for a couple of rounds. Maybe even crossing your arms over as you hold on to your shins. So instead of holding opposite elbows, kind of just hold on to your shins as you let your upper body soften. So maybe just say yes or no with your head, just finding a little bit of that calmness. And then release your arms again. Roll back up to standing, uncurling vertebra by vertebra. Rolling the shoulders back. Good. So from the back of your mat, please step your left foot forward. And coming into that high lunge position, so the hips point forward as your back heel lifts. So find it literally like the spring in your step. So kind of just noticing how does the right hip flexor respond. So I hope it works on those mats that the feet are not too sticky. So we are moving literally around the mat. So you will face eventually the back of your mat. So we're literally, I'm perhaps just showing you first. So we bring the foot down, coming into that horse pose, and then turning the back foot around so you face the same posture, just facing the opposite side of your mat. So you roll back, you come through that goddess pose, and you change the feet around. So it's literally more or less you're curling, you're just swiveling on your feet. So finding perhaps a little bit of a rhythm here as you come into that goddess pose where the feet are out. Turn, so your hips face again the front of your mat. So you may even want to use your arms as well as once you kind of find that movement. So you may even bring your arms out to the sides, forward. So out to the side, almost using your arms a bit like that, opening and closing. So open, close, open, close. So it's definitely strengthening for the legs, and you probably also know what are your feet, what are your arms doing. Lovely. So we meet back where you face the front of your mat, the usual position of your mat. Good. So staying in that high lunge position, which also requires a bit more balance, so activate your core. On the inhale, lengthen. Exhale, right arm forward, left arm back. So your belly button faces the inner edge of your thigh. Inhaling, coming back to center. Exhaling, back into twist. So a few rounds here as you lengthen and open up towards the right. Good. So inhale, lengthen, exhale, twist. So 2 more here. Inhale, lengthen, exhale, twist. And then find your way back to that neutral high lunge. Step or hop your back foot in, cross it over, arms out to the side. So coming into eagle pose, that Garudasana. Bring your left arm on top. So you can remain them here, crossing them over. You can keep the big toe on the floor. You can wrap that foot around your thigh. So see what works. Your thighs really squeeze together. So you may want to explore bending your knees, perhaps even shifting your upper body slightly forward. So there may be more of a pull in your upper back through your shoulders. So almost the more you squeeze your thighs together, the more stability you have. Good, don't forget to breathe. 1 more breath. And then slowly coming back out. Good. A couple of twists here. So just standing, soft twist. keep your feet, keep your whole body quite soft. So let your knees go in a different directions as well. So there's always a danger that we may perhaps twist our knees. So perhaps even tapping yourself on the opposite shoulder. Good. So then bring those movements down to, or make them a little slower, a little bit smaller. Good. So second side, bring your right foot forward, left foot back. So again, set yourself up here for the back here. You can, now that you know the movement, you can perhaps bring your arms straight forward. So you then turn into goddess pose, back into that high lunge. So you can, even in between, bending the knees perhaps a little bit deeper. So make it yours. So it's important that your feet move as well. So you're not pulling in any joint, you're not pulling on your knees. Good. So wherever your arms move, so you find it eventually your own little flow, your own little rhythm. Good. So and eventually we finish where you face again the front of your mat. So coming into that stable high lunge pose. So notice if you don't feel a stretch, maybe take your upper body a little bit further back so it makes it more of a back bend. Bring your arms out, up, and then left arm forward, right arm back. So inhaling, coming back to center. So play with those twists for a few rounds. You could even stay in that posture for a little bit longer. So if that's the case, then breathe into that sensation. Breathe and make that maybe a little bit stronger. So a few breaths here. It's balance, it's coordination. So notice if once you move your head, if that messes with balance, maybe just keep your head facing forward. So just your body moves. Lovely. Finish the last one here. Stay for a little bit in that posture. Breathe. And then bring your arm forward. Step the left foot in and perhaps all the way up and over. So right arm this time on top. You can cross, you can keep them wherever that feels okay. Squeeze those thighs together. Maybe the big toe remains on the floor, or maybe it's lifted. Bending that standing leg as you shift the balance. So strengthening that hip as you breathe and squeeze those thighs. Good. So a couple of breaths. So think of what's happening in your upper back. Lovely. 2 more breaths. And then coming slowly back out. So you can turn around facing the long edge of your mat as you come into a bit more of a forced, kind of just restful standing forward fold. So you could make it a little bit more rocking, a bit more swaying, or you can just find that kind of stillness as you allow the neck, the head to soften. You can also aim to cross your arms, perhaps holding onto the outer edges of your calves, of your knees, whatever feels available to reach. So the more your arms lengthen, the more you may feel again, perhaps that upper body activation through the upper back. If you have crossed them over, maybe change the crossing of your arms. 2 more breaths. And then soften your arms. Bend your knees as you uncurl vertebra by vertebra, coming back up. So just take a moment to adjust. Lovely. So then step your feet together. We are transitioning towards the floor. You can have a drink if you wish before. So if you want to travel through downward dog and you want to kind of explore through bent knees, so you can cross, doesn't matter which foot, you can slowly perhaps make your way down towards the earth, bring your hands down, move literally into that cross-legged downward dog. And then eventually come into any kind of bit of free play, what you wish to experience. So you can uncross, you can switch between plank, downward dog, you can open or just balancing on one leg, perhaps lifting, turning that hip open. So explore your own movement again. You can even keep the feet crossed, maybe come back up into that standing forward fold. So explore balance. You may want to come back up, change the crossing on the opposite side as you move into downward dog again. So just a little bit of explorative movement. So get any energy out that maybe feels still stuck. So if we feel kind of strong emotions, they're usually stuck in our upper arms. So arm balance is a good way to release strong emotions. Good. And eventually find your way, whenever that suits, into tabletop and any restful child's pose. So just coming back to the earth, grounding, coming back to your breath. So begin to lengthen the exhale. So if it feels unfamiliar, perhaps count your inhales. So as you inhale, 1, 2, 3, maybe 4, and you start the exhale, perhaps just add another 2 or 3 counts to your exhale. So perhaps you feel the belly button squeezing into the stomach, almost crunching. A couple of full deep breaths into your upper back, into your hips, maybe into any other areas that may benefit from a little bit more oxygen. Good. 2 more breaths. And then find your way into a seated position, please. So bring the feet wide and perhaps one knee bent in. So if that knee feels, or if the hip feels troubling, perhaps then bend, roll the blanket together and just prop up that hip or prop up that knee if needed. If it feels uncomfortable, letting it float here. So keeping almost more of a side stretch. So let the belly button face towards your knee as you lean towards that extended leg. So kind of just explore going in and out, but like that seesaw again. And eventually, perhaps bring that left arm or bring that opposite arm up and over. So notice how each kind of millimeter, each inch adds a little bit more length. You can kind of go in and out of that posture. You can just stay in it more statically as you create once more length through the side body. So optional here, you can make it more of a stretch. You can make it more of an hip stretch as well as you lift up. So you stretch up. You bring the hips forward and then can move between that posture, that side stretch, and perhaps lift. So just see how it feels in the body. So can gain a little bit more traction for the opposite arm. As you come down, you may even make it more of a kind of similar to the beginning. So you open, you make it more of a smooth circle. So using almost both arms. Good. So play with your body, play with movement. Good. And then find your way back to center. So before moving on to the second side, maybe you're sitting a little bit diagonally then. So take that extended or that bent knee, either keep it on the same side or cross it over. So if you cross it over, hold on to your knee, maybe have a little bit of a wiggle, so you're lengthening up. So with your right hand or with that, I think most of us, yeah. So hug your knee or just hold it, lengthen as you guide your arm back and up and over. So you're naturally landing in that twist. The opposite arm. Good, so each inhale, lengthen. Exhale, twist a little deeper. So you're keeping that length through the spine. Good. So you can always walk your backhand a little bit closer in towards your bottom. Lovely. 2 more breaths. Good. And then slowly bring your upper body back, uncross your leg. Maybe before we move on to second sides, you can kind of just, without really an agenda or an aim, just kind of just folding forward, lengthening through the back. Good. And then coming back up to seated, opposite side. So hug your opposite knee in. Again, use perhaps a blanket to prop up the hip. So align the torso to the short edge of your mat. So you make it more of a length, because if you lean forward, it's more of a forward fold. So adjusting the body so it's more of a side stretch. So you can go in and out. You can bring the arm in. So see how it feels as you gradually begin to release the side. So you can stay and breathe for a couple of breaths, letting the top arm maybe feel quite heavy, so your hand can rest on your floor on the leg. And maybe when you're ready, perhaps lift up again. If that feels okay, make it again those fluid movements, even just opening up through the chest. Good. So again, play with shapes, play with stretches, play with sensations. Good. Lovely. Perhaps take 2 more here, whether you're more static, maybe you're just hanging out here. Good. And then find your way back to center. So you literally just rock on your hip. You release that leg. It can either stay on the same side or you cross it over. If you cross it over, wiggle, and with your opposite arm, you're almost pulling that leg a little closer. Reach up. So we are turning towards the inner thigh, making more of a closed twist. So every inhale, you kind of being drawn up towards the ceiling through making yourself a little taller. Exhale, twist, deepening the twist. Even your head can look towards that back shoulder. Get a few deep, full breaths. Two more breaths. And then slowly return, untwist, uncross. So any movement you can lean forward. I'll just have a bit of a wiggle, shoulders, upper back, lower back. Perhaps even just staying, enjoying that. Perhaps stretch. Good. And from here, eventually roll onto your back, hugging the knees in again, just to bring a bit of weight, rocking. Perhaps finding stillness. And eventually come into your version of relaxation, whether that's on your back, on your side, on your front, seated. So eyes can be closed, very soft gaze. Feel all the different points of your back body melting into the floor. So with each exhale, begin to release all the muscles in your body. Bring that heaviness into your feet, your legs, your pelvis. So allow your legs to be like jelly, heavy. Releasing any remaining tension. So every exhale, direct it down into the lower part of your body. Letting you sink deeper and deeper into the earth. And invite that heaviness into your fingers, your wrists, forearm, upper arm and shoulders. Release any remaining tension, tightness from your arms. Heavy arms, arms like jelly. Consciously breathing into your fingertips, into your palms, your wrists. Soften your rib cage, chest, your heart. sides of your neck, back of your neck. Softening up in your lower jaw. Release the root of your tongue. Soften your eyes, your forehead. Feel the back of your head against the earth. Bring awareness to the tip of your nose. Drawing the inhales up towards the top of your head. And letting the exhale wash down across your whole body towards the tops of your toes. Inhaling from the tops of your toes up towards the crown of your head. And exhaling down towards the soles of your feet. Breathing up and down your body. Feel the rising of your chest, your belly. And it's softening, contracting. Let your exhale guide you deeper into relaxation. Whole body is at ease. Breath is quiet. Your mind calm. Very gradually and mindfully invite deeper, fuller breaths back into your whole body. Perhaps bring movement into your head as you roll your head just gently from side to side. Maybe bring movement into your fingers, your toes, your hands, your feet. Might even want to stretch your arms up and overhead, stretching from fingertips to toes. And then hug your knees back in towards the chest. Or you remain more static or you rock. And then allow yourself to roll onto one side. Stay there for a breath or two. And then find your way back up into any seated position. Good. So finishing one more breath, lengthen. Go with the good stuff. The summer, bring it back into your heart center. That warmth, that heat. Thank yourself for making time this morning. Namaste. Have a lovely summer.